Hello and welcome back to the historical battle series. Today we will be taking a closer look at the Battle of Asculum, fought in the year 279 BC between King Pyrrhus of Epirus and the Roman Republic. Before we start the actual battle, I'll just go over a brief history and then we can get started. So in the year 280, that's when King Pyrrhus landed in the southern part of Italy in order to help the Greek colonies against the Romans. And this triggered the initial contact between Romans and a professional Hellenistic army that had the phalanx and actually also elephants. So this was a double first for the Romans. And during this battle, the forces of Epirus had about 25,000 infantry, 3,000 cavalry and 20 elephants. The Roman forces were led by consul Valerius Lavinius, and he fielded 2 legions plus some allied troops, and their numbers were about 25,000. And in this first encounter for the Romans with the Hellenistic style of war plus the elephants, the Romans lost the battle. King Pyrrhus was able to hold the center with his pike units, while his cavalry and elephants flanked and drove away the Roman cavalry, and thus securing victory. Romans lost about 7,000 and the rest retreated. Pyrrhus took about 4,000 casualties. After the battle, Pyrrhus offered a peace treaty to the Romans. However, even though there were support in the Senate for a peace treaty, there was one Roman, Claudius Caesus, who actually persuaded them to keep on fighting. After the Battle of Heraclea, there was the Battle of Asculum, which we will be going into deeper detail in just a moment. But after this battle, the Battle of Asculum, which Pyrrhus won, Pyrrhus received a call to arms from Syracuse against the Carthaginians. So this saw him leave the Italian mainland and head over to Sicily in the year 278. And in 275 he came back, lost another battle against the Romans, where actually he lost his first battle against the Romans, I should say. And after taking a lot of casualties over the years, he was forced to go back to Greece. After that, he actually died in the year 278, and I'm not sure if the historical sources are correct in this account, but he may have died during an attack on Argos from having a tile dropped on his head by an old lady on a rooftop. Not sure about that, but you never know. It's a good story. And now we shall be taking a quick look at battle itself. So there are different sources and different numbers given for the strength of the both sides here, but what I think is probably more accurate is that it was about 46 or so thousand on both sides. The Romans were led by the consuls of Publius Decius Mus and Publius Sulpicius Savernius, and the Romans fielded 17,000 infantry and also 20,000 allied troops, about 3,000 cavalry, and they also had a secret weapon, which was 300 anti-elephant wagons, which unfortunately we aren't really able to simulate with this game, but yeah. And the Pyrrhus forces were made up of different types of troops, He also had some mercenaries, and he had Sam Knights joining him, and he also had his dreaded Macedonian pikemen, and about 19 elephants, 2,000 Royal Guard horsemen. And I'm not been able to find numbers on how different troop types, but if we take away 2,000 Royal Guard horsemen from the about 46,000 total sum, then I'll just try and make a stable, well-rounded force consisting of mainly pike units, but also a few mercenary and support troops. Day 1 of the Battle of Asculum was a stalemate. Pyrrhus attacked the Romans who had taken up position on a wooden hill, and the Pyrrhus' right flank won, while the Roman flank pushed back the center of the Emperor's forces. This meant that Pyrrhus had to send his cavalry and his elephants to support his center, and he was successful in re-establishing control over there. And day 2 began with some light troops sent by Pyrrhus to claim the hill, which forced the Romans out to the open field. And after this clever maneuver, once Epirus' elephants had been gotten into position, the secret weapon of the Romans, the wagons, were deployed, driven by the ox, and however it proved not that useful, and the wagons were driven away, and the Roman right cavalry flank fled. Elephants were then able to attack successfully, causing a retreat of the Roman army, and after that things got a bit messy. A few remaining cavalry units of the Romans attacked Pyrrhus' camp, but so he had to send a few of his forces back to secure his camp while pursuing and attacking the Roman camp. And at this stage in the battle, King Pyrrhus himself was wounded by a javelin, and that caused basically the Pyrrhus forces to retire back to their camp. And after this, the Romans had lost about 6,000 to 8,000 troops, again according to my sources, and Pyrrhus about 3,000 to 3,500 troops. And it was after this battle that the famous Pyrrhus victory was given its infamy. And it may not seem that high number of casualties, but a lot of those troops were some of his best forces, such as many of the Macedonian pikemen. So, with history out of the way, let us see what we can do, playing and assuming the role of King Epirus himself. Over here, that's us, and this is our bodyguard, and this is the battlefield, and that's a bird. We do not have control over the bird. And I've tried to give in, as I said before, a well-rounded, balanced army that contains the unit types and that were used in the battle. So we have here first in the front rank we have some skirmishers, and I've given us slingers, Rhodian slingers, and one unit of just regular slingers. And I was able to see them mentioning Rhodian slingers in one source actually, and The second line is mainly our pikes, and I have given the right kind of right center, the more honorable position, to the to 3 units of Hellenic Royal Guard, and these are to simulate the Macedonian pikemen as the elite troops. And then we have the center is all pikes. On the flanks we have some mercenary and allied troops. We have the Samnites here on the right, and some Italian mercenaries on the left flank. And then we have some hoplites on the left and center flanks, just as reserves. Here's in the middle. On the flanks we have 2 units of Hellenic Royal Cavalry and 1 mercenary Indian war elephants on both sides. And that is our army. The Roman army is a very traditional Roman Republic army before the reform. So we have Hastati, Velites, Principes, and Triarii, and some equity cavalry, and that is basically it. So I've given the Romans 1 more unit, but other than that we are pretty much well, we are pretty much the same number of units. And so let us begin then. And I should probably say that I'm also using a mod that increases the length of the battles slightly. And as we are attacking, we will be advancing towards the Roman position. And you can imagine, maybe this was the hill that we took from the Romans, forced them out there by going up early in the dawn and taking the hill with our lightly armed troops. And the city there in the distance, possibly Tarentum, who knows? And should be able to get a view on the Romans here. Auxiliary cavalry. I've given them auxiliary cavs just because they are a bit better than the standard equity unit, but they are just here to simulate equities basically, since our cavalry is a bit better. So I thought that would be some compensation. And here we have the Velutis, Hastati, and then more Hastati, Triarii, Principes. Not quite a manipular formation, but almost. Looking, they definitely have a lot of reserves, so maybe that's something to consider coming in here. We have a very stretched line. It's good for flanking, but we could break in the middle, so something to keep in mind. We only have 4 units in reserve. And this is a very favorable position here on the hill, but we shall see. I'll move forward and let my skirmishers skirmish.
As you command.
And I will be using my cavalry just as Pyrrhic did, in trying to beat the Roman cavalry and then make way for our elephants. So that is why I'm keeping the elephants behind the cavalry. As we await for the rest of the army to assemble.
We await your command.
Yeah, they have got 2 units of cavalry on each flank, and they have the 2 wide lines and then the 3rd reserve line with the Triarii units. Okay, I'm gonna move back actually now. I'm gonna reposition a bit. Melita is in front. Not really worth going after with the slingers, but
Ready for orders. Cavalry!
They have a lot of armored units, so maybe the slingers will not be able to do much about them. But we shall see here. I'm not too concerned about the Velites more than their ability to cause troubles for our elephants, but they are quite far away from the flanks. As we approach the Romans. So given that there was a lot of support for accepting the peace agreement after the first battle with Epirus, it would have been interesting to see if the battle of Asculum would have been won a bit more decisively.
Ride out!
If perhaps one of the legions would have been completely destroyed. You never know what could have happened if Pyrrhic would have decided to actually offer peace treaty again, or what would have happened. Definitely would have cemented the Greeks' position in the area, and it could have been dire if the Romans would have lost one or two of their consuls. Could have caused a bit of political instability as well. But on the other hand, if the Romans were to win and cause a lot of casualties to Epirus, then Pyrrhic would probably been more likely to go back home and lick his wounds, and maybe then he wouldn't have been able to help the Syracuse state against Carthage. As it were, both sides were basically left standing in the conflict, and this battle was not decisive in that sense in this war against Romans and Epirus. Okay, so now we're coming into firing range and the Romans are responding. It seems that we have triggered an all-out charge here. I'm gonna try and intercept the cavalry. Give them the attack orders already.
Our hidden units have been discovered.
On the right side, well, better to be to the line, give these shock cavalry the opportunity to go for the attack rather than miss it. We're gonna actually shift over here. Shift targets. Flank. Should have them. Get one solid clean charge with shock cavalry against cavalry. That's gonna be unpleasant for them. Oh, and I forgot to to take my skirmishers and move them back. Great start. So basically simulates a bit of the events in the first battle between Pyrrhic and the Romans, where the battle on the flanks went well, but lost a bit on the center. And my skirmishers are basically toast now. We are driving the Roman cavalry back, I believe. Let's see if we can persuade our slingers to reform and get back. They are now attacking. Let's see here. Charging into the pipe wall. So we just need to identify where we deploy our reserves. We have a huge opportunity to flank on the west on the left flank. I'm gonna bring in the elephants now. We have an opportunity to flank here as well. Let's see what do we have here. We have Sam Knights. Well, we need to start chasing the skirmishers, I believe. A few of the slingers have survived. Get the
One of our units
hoplites
has used all
ready.
its ammunition.
You guys attack. form up here, they can use the javelins.
Ready for orders.
And now we can use the cavalry to chase away the fleeing
We await
units.
your command.
Or the skirmishers. Bring in the elephants. Keep a close look at the abilities. General is coming in. One of the consuls throwing his life in the fight. Officers coming in. Will be supporting the center, I believe. This battle is going very, very well.
One of our units is used all its
I did
ammunition.
run a test battle before. Didn't go as well as this one, but not gonna. Actually, didn't finish that one, but. Okay, I guess it's just a matter of picking. Good place to charge. We haven't got any Triaria here. We're gonna use Stampede.
Elephants ready for battle.
And since this is a battle with longer,
Royal cavalry.
a mod with longer battles, then I'm gonna be a bit
The enemy
more.
general is
Oh,
dead.
there we go. Gonna be a bit more picky in terms of choosing which troops to attack, so that I'm sure that we'll break them in the charge. But I think we have established a considerable advantage here. Pipeline fighting downhill, and the battle elephants. We have pursuing hoplites, the lone pikeman standing and contemplating what is happening. They're still fighting in the center. We'll bring back these units to advance. Flanked here, but we will send troops to deal with that. Bring in the hoplites. This flank can now just smash into the Hastati. Here come the hoplites, and here come the elephants. Mercenary Italians. Bring back our cavalry. Come. Piling on in.
One of our units has used all its
Gonna
ammunition.
briefly bring back the overlay to see how things are going. Got some Sam Knights getting chased by Triarii. Gonna leave them to it. See how they fare. It's probably gonna be the last charge here. So the Pyrrhic battle plan has been going pretty much as it should. And we have suffered a few casualties, but let's now see what happened with the Hellenic Royal Guard here. Not so many casualties at all. And I believe we have performed better than Pyrrhus did historically. And we have secured a bloody but clean victory. Clear victory, I should say, of the Romans. So if we were to offer them peace terms after this battle, it will very much be on our terms. Troops are cheering. and Romans are falling. Triarii getting stabbed, and the path of retreat has been cut off. Got a few mercenary Italian swordsmen coming in. Cavalry has returned. Everyone is cheering. The archers on the elephants are firing at the fleeing Romans. It's a glorious day for King Pyrrhic. And the only thing remaining now is one unit of Triarii. And I believe that we want to bring some cavalry support here. Let's try and reform. Well, skirmishers were that was a huge waste. Big mistake there, but other than that, I'm surprised that the Romans I thought they would hold a bit better actually. Maybe we could have balanced the battle a bit better, but it seemed fine in the test I ran. Now we're gonna seal the Romans' fate.
We await your command! Hellenic Royal Cavalry! Ready to ride!
And charge.
Forward!
And I believe we have victory. And that we have. So, decisive victory, no Pyrrhic victory this time. We shall end the battle and take a look at the statistics. Whoa, wow. Yeah. That is an insanely unfavorable outcome for the Romans. 347 elephants, cavalry doing well. I actually got a few kills with these slingers, just those who managed to survive. Me forgetting them and then being able to get back and fire shots off. Helen Wild Guard. So one unit almost got destroyed. 2 units of slingers, two got. Well, all of the slingers, they basically suffered pretty much. Pac-Man, I got 2 units basically destroyed. Wow, 490 kills. 1 unit of pikemen. Swordsmen doing well. They got the opportunity to flank. These were the one who I had on the left flank. So the wide formation actually paid off there. I was a bit concerned that they would be able to just hold the line even for well, basically an eternity, having so many reinforcements, but and that any flanking maneuvers wouldn't be enough to break them, and that they would push through the center before that. But I think that the terrain, the elevation, and the fact that we had pikes helped, and the flanking came pretty early on. And the best unit The best performing unit for them was one of the Velites, I believe. No, actually, it's also Hastati. No, no, the regular Hastati, 127. Okay, that's okay. No kills were either generals. Yeah, but that's it. Pretty fast battle and a very decisive one-sided one, but there we have it, the Battle of Asculum. And I do hope that you enjoyed the video, and feel free to suggest future battles as well. And as I always say, just do not ask me to play a pre-made historical battle by that are already in the Total War game, but rather just give me an example of a battle in history that you want me to try and reconstruct, and I shall definitely consider doing it. And yeah, that is basically it. So thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.